to influential.
Welcome to the channel. This video is the second of my entrance into reviewing cars. The first one I did of the Ford Maverick did better than expected, but I don't like the idea of being a car review channel. And I like the videos I'm making right now. So I think going forward, if I do any reviews, I'm only going to look at new vehicle entries. Maverick, even though the name was old, is a new release, and so it fits with this category. It also helps me from feeling like I need to make a video for the Nissan Z and the Subaru WRX. Also, it just fits with my channel a bit more. I have a better established series called Picture Cars, which asks the question, is this the right vehicle for the movie, TV, or video game character? In these car reviews, I'm going to ask a derivative of that same question. So in the example of the Ford Maverick and the Cadillac Lyriq, the question is more so, could the main or supporting characters in a movie realistically drive this? As I've been making my Picture Cars videos, I've been looking at my own cars and asking similar questions. If I were the main character in a movie, would I be driving a Chevrolet Equinox? Now the answer to that question is no, which is part of the reason I sold my Equinox and have car projects of my own. But this video is about the Lyriq, so let's get started. Now, I don't want to masquerade as someone who can earn your trust with my opinion in one video. I want to be as real to you as I can, and I really wanted a job with GM after graduating college. So I have a real bias toward liking what GM does. That's been tempered a bit, not only with job rejections, but with the release of the disappointing Blazer, especially when compared against the reintroduction of the Ford Bronco. And then further with an even more underperforming Trailblazer, though that disappointment was softened since Ford's Bronco Sport is a weak excuse as the reason the Ford Maverick was developed, since they're sharing a platform. What I'm saying is, I have a deep adoration for GM, for Mary Barra, for Mark Reuss, for Gerald Johnson. I think they're doing some cool things as a leadership team. But I think the promise of no more crappy cars needs to be held accountable across all brands. And that's the whole purpose behind videos like this. Will on-screen characters ever be driving this vehicle? If not, what's the point in making the car? I want to first break down what this target audience looks like, in a sense, defining who the character is if we were to put him or her in a movie. I'm a father and a teacher, coming from an engineer background, who also has woodworking and automotive projects. That's my character. So who is the character for the Lyriq owner? The beginning few seconds of the video were a mashup of all the times the word influence was delivered during the release party. Led by one of the top female tech influencers on YouTube, her career beginning in YouTube's initial years, iJustine, or Justina Zarek, hosted a captivating party, with the lead up to the event being ushered in by the likes of Regina King and innovative chefs from the so-called Lyriq Kitchen. The Cadillac audience already has the sense that this will be a different kind of release party. And if you look back at the many releases throughout the pandemic, it's true. The Honda Civic, the Ford Bronco are the only releases that stand out to me as being the most memorable release productions. The Civic finding its way on Twitch's streaming service, and the Bronco getting a practical partnership with Disney Production Studios to create the release material. Every meaningful car release comes with its own singular or team of celebrity. The Ford Bronco had the trio of Jimmy Chin, Brooke Raboutou, and Kip Moore. While not all of them celebrity, each well known within their respective sphere of influence. The later release of the Maverick had Gabrielle Union, entitling their shared marketing approach as the perfect union. Nissan Z has Cody Walker, brother of the late Paul Walker, who made the Nissan name more mainstream than it already was in the year 2000. But the release of the Lyriq is just so oversaturated with varying types of celebrity that I'm left to wonder if this isn't made just for the influencer. With the Bronco, as well as the Rivian if we're being thorough, the marketing team partnered with Adventurous Souls to bring their vision of adventure vehicles to life. Rivian partnered up with Alex Honnold, one of the most hardcore climbers. I mean, did you know Cliff Bar stopped sponsoring him because he was so hardcore? During the humble product redirection from electric sports car to electric adventure vehicle. Based on that, the series of events that followed seemed natural. Ford invested $500 million in Rivian. The director and climbing videographer for Alex Honnold's award-winning movie about the El Capitan ascent, Jimmy Chin, produces a masterclass course. Ford's release of the Bronco partners with the now accoladed Jimmy Chin and budding climber Brooke Raboutou. These are characters whose niche is adventure. Specifically, climbing adventure. It's the type of outdoor adventure you can only get to if you travel off the beaten path. Cody Walker's form of celebrity is overshadowed by that of his brother Paul and the foundation he left behind, Reach Out Worldwide, giving disaster relief to suffering and recuperating areas. Even so, Cody Walker is an avid car enthusiast sharing the same Fast and Furious DNA that so many Nissan Z drivers aspire to attain. But the Cadillac Lyriq? Let's look at the partnerships made for its release, and let's begin way back to the earliest known public partnership, the No Way Norway Super Bowl commercial with Will Ferrell, Kenan Thompson, and Awkwafina. Add to that Regina King, Nikki Nakayama, Jordan Kahn, Justine Azaric, Lewis from Unbox Therapy, Richard Blaze, Kimberly Bryant, Tanashi, and Nancy Liu. Of these, we can split them up into the categories of chefs, women in STEM, and influencers. So let's continue and take a look at who's selling us the Lyriq, and by extension, Ultium-driven vehicles. Back in August of 2020, there was the employee-hosted worldwide premiere of the Cadillac Lyriq showroom car. The first few of the GM employee hosts recollected memories of their youth and seeing Cadillac as the ultimate status symbol of luxury across the world. The reveal is one of the more drawn out when it comes to pandemic releases. Usually, there's cinematic teaser footage and the vehicle bursts through a cloud of dust or snow or particles of some kind, and we get a series of money shots. During the August 2020 reveal, while there were sprinkled in images of the vehicle, we don't get the definitive look until more than a quarter of the way through. But between that reveal and last week, there have been a wealth of commercials with varying design changes throughout. We can all take the No Way Norway commercial at face value. It's a fun discussion starter, poking a friendly jab at the competitor in GM's mission to see the planet as a world with zero emissions. What better way to have worldwide playful banter than to hire comedians representing so many ways of living? Then Cadillac goes the experimental route and develops the Lyriq Kitchen, a commissioned series of signature dishes that are just as innovative and stimulating to the senses as what the designers hope the Lyriq will be. The task at hand to influence your senses as a holistic experience. Richard Blaze will be able to explain when we start looking at the event itself. Rounding out the lead up to the reservation release party, Regina King re-enters the Cadillac domain to deliver her Flip the Script TV spot. King has been selling Cadillacs for almost a year, her first partnership with the Escalade in a commercial entitled Never Stop Arriving. This commercial for the Lyriq is a call to change your perspective on who you are and how you live, to truly flip the foreordained script. And now we are at the event itself, the combined efforts of YouTube personalities iJustine and Unbox Therapy, who each have their fair share of closer looks and reviews in the automotive tech space, host an abundance of different players. Why iJustine? Well, I actually don't care to venture an answer at this question. I remember her time as a music parody YouTuber, and it's been fun to see her evolve her channel alongside the likes of Marques Brownlee and Linus Tech Tips. I think she's a great host with thought-provoking questions and an understanding of the technology. This was a well-deserved partnership for her. What I'm really puzzled by is the involvement of Unbox Therapy. Now don't get me wrong, he has a ton of experience getting a closer look at newly released vehicles. His production crew is phenomenal at offering us the rundown of the vehicle.
What the hell is a rundown?
But to me, I don't know. I just don't think he offers a whole lot in the way of asking further meaningful questions. For example, compare the videos reviewing the Ford Lightning by Unbox Therapy and Marques Brownlee. Viewer and watch time numbers set aside, Marques is just really good at wondering how the technology will evolve and providing insights not shared at the launch window. Unbox Therapy seems to just reiterate what was already shared by the automaker. GM also has such an interesting personality already in Amelia Hartford. She made the twin-turbo C8 Corvette, which you should check out. Heck, if all they wanted was a scripted narration, I think Alex Hershey or Supercar Blondie does a much more engaging inside look. That's not to say that all Lewis or Alex do is read a script. That's what I'm doing right now. But I think there are channels that do a better job at furthering the conversation about a product. Anyway, we get into a Food Network segment with celebrity chef Richard Blaze making an avocado salmon toast. The sensory engagement is, again, used as the primary metaphor for the Cadillac Lyriq, flipping expectations on what a meal like this should look, taste, sound, feel, or smell like. By extension, Cadillac wants to flip the expectations on what a car should do to our senses. I'm going to skip ahead and go to Tanashi's performance but I'll come back to Kimberly Bryant's talk. The introduction, again led by Justine, provides the origin of the lyric's name, a name that when combined with the vehicle experience is similar to a lyric, given life when combined with music. Now let's take a look at the set list. The performance was great, really, a beautiful callback to so many hip-hop influences. Light Color offered more than the blues from every other segment thus far. Camera work was purposeful and calculated, choreography was amazing, but it very much seemed like Cadillac chose many of the songs because the lyrics had something, anything, to do with the vehicle. X with the big wheels, all hands on deck singing, all in the front, all in the back. And I mean, this is the only connective tissue we have to some of these song choices. And then the finale, leaving us with a good feeling with the song called This Feeling. All in all, it was stunning, but left a little to be desired by way of better curating the set list. Then finally, there are the two segments from Women in Tech. Kimberly Bryant, an electrical engineer and founder of Black Girls Code, shares her powerful story and that of her daughter experiencing both positive and negative influences in their academic tenure. Mrs. Bryant shares with us what influence should mean within the context of the entire show. Later in her talk, she delivered a gut punch which had me sharing her message with my female students.
She said, "Mom, I love this class, but sometimes the male TAs didn't really pay as much attention to the girls as they did the boys."
And it was great to get some specific feedback from them. Sharing a couch with Nancy Liu later in the show, Justine hosts an insightful and positive interview that made me reflect on all of my discussions with the many generous engineers and technologists who offered their knowledge to my inner city high school students last year. It's a shameless plug, but if you have an interest in women engineers at NASA, Black software engineers, and so many other diverse players in the STEM field, then I have a playlist up in the corner and in the description. It's such a beautiful way to round out a reveal party dominated by the word influence. All three women being such strong examples of supportive personalities in the tech world. While there was some meandering that occurred and the word influence represented in so many things, I think Cadillac illustrated a more positive, influential character with the show's finale. There's so much I want to talk about, so much, and we'll get into the vehicle, its specs, and my perspective on the design in a minute. But to trim it down, let me provide a little bit of insights into how automotive supplier-customer relationships work. In other words, answering the question, how did the lyrics sell out so fast? The automotive supplier I was a part of had a sales department, a project development department, and an operations department. It's an exaggerated filtering of so many roles, but I'm simplifying. These teams worked pretty linearly. The sales team would try to find a partnership with product designers at the Tier 1 supplier level. For example, Valeo designs the plastic radiator tanks capping the ends of many radiators. Valeo doesn't have the capability of making those intricate components, so they bought our manufacturing service. The project development team, my team, would take the product's design and create the manufacturing process for it. Once Valeo signs off on the production process, the operations department, consisting of manufacturing, process, and quality engineers, would get the handoff and manufacture the radiator tanks at the designated injection molding press. But at that initial discussion with the sales team, Valeo needs the quote covering a couple of things. One being the tool, the physical mold where the radiator tanks get made, and the other being the number of parts made over time. The number of parts made is delivered to our sales team with the number EAU, or estimated annual usage. That number, multiplied by the cost of the material, cost of labor, and cost of press time, would make up the quote. There are literally dozens of other factors that go into a quote, but we'd be here for hours. Anyway, this happens across the industry. Customers provide EAUs for every vehicle, sometimes lumping multiple vehicles together with a platform. The GMC Sierra and Chevrolet Silverado share a lot of plastic parts, and so we're not getting the number of Sierras GM is expecting to sell, we're getting the total number of trucks out of Fort Wayne. Heck, sometimes including the Tahoe, Suburban, Yukon, and Escalade out of Arlington. Mind you, this is a projected amount of the total number of trucks across the expected lifetime of the new model's generation, typically 7 years. And this forecasted number might fluctuate from year to year. So what they mean by the Cadillac Lyriq being sold out is this. Cadillac was only expecting a market reaction of a certain number of vehicles sold in the year 2022. If the sales numbers of the XT5's first year of production are any indication, it might be somewhere inside of 40,000 units if Cadillac's marketing team is forecasting conservatively. Cadillac's pre-orders for the debut edition Lyriq met that number within the first hour. The audience response to a sellout is typically, well, just make more. But since there are so many suppliers and costs involved, quotes and contracts would need to be redrafted. That's likely going to happen, but it will take some time and they probably won't be exactly like the debut edition. Think of it this way, when a concert sells out, the venue can't add more quality seats unless more money is invested. Last August, I was pretty pumped for the Lyriq reveal. I had conversations going with all my contacts at GM, and it was just an exciting time all around. Volvo has committed the transition to an all-electric future, but there aren't very many brands that have thrust themselves into the commitments they're expressing with the world. While GM has so many brands, the strategy to carve in their electric future with Cadillac and GM is a smart one. The Chevy Bolt is a fun little hatchback, but I think it's time for GM to distance themselves from the solely LG Chem developed battery and focus on cultivating their jointly developed battery system that will lead to the residual development of electric Chevrolets. Ultium is a promising platform. The Hummer EV and Lyriq have already turned into strong entries for the electric market, both of them outperforming projections and top trim first editions selling out within a matter of minutes. With the next release for GM looking to be the electric Silverado, GM is on its way to proving their competitiveness with Tesla, Ford, and now Rivian, a talking point that has long been held in contention. Cadillac is promising a shift to being a completely all-electric brand by the end of the decade, leading the rest of GM brands into their vision of zero crashes, zero emissions, and zero congestion. Cadillac's business model as both a luxury and performance brand are encouraging to that vision as lessons learned at the highest level cascade to Buick and Chevrolet. The Lyriq also promises to be the herald of a new design language for the brand, but this is where I have my own internal resistance. The current Cadillac lineup is such a young and beautiful design scheme that I hate to see it leave so soon. The CT4 and CT5 variants are proving to be well received and will surely be missed by the time the internal combustion engine leaves the brand over the next 8 years. I don't know, I have a strong attraction to the warmth of the black grille over the chrome grid. I'll just miss it, that's all. But that's not to say I think the Lyriq is ugly. Far from it. I think the separation between August 6th and 6 days ago was good time for the design and manufacturing team to lay the final pencil strokes. One of the design changes being the handle design and operation. It's a beautiful car, with the exterior being just as inviting in its sequential illumination. Beyond my love for the current Cadillac lineup, I think what Cadillac really means is that the Lyriq heralds the coming interior design evolution. Many heads of design have long regarded the interior as the place where a design team can truly be let loose. The OLED screen, the harmonized lighting, the gentle touchstones within the cabin, they coalesce into a beautifully influential driving and riding experience. With Super Cruise comes the design question of creating a comfortable riding space for the driver's seat. While Lyriq doesn't deviate too far from the source material, you can tell that the Cadillac design team is only hinting at what it has in store for the future of luxury passenger vehicles. But after talking about the design, I need to dive into the specs and give a little bit of reprimand, because we have to stop giving the driving range at full battery charge. I know all about its merits, but I still hate it. It's not representative for battery safety and actual driving conditions. It's like saying the Tesla Plaid has a sub 2 second 0 to 60 time. While it's true if you subtract the first foot and have specific tire and track conditions, it's not representative of regular use. It's lying. Just offer the 80% range. If you do, then we're looking at something along the lines of 250 miles of range, which isn't bad for the first generation of a new battery system within a heavy vehicle. Marquez might expect more after recognizing that the Ford Lightning's marketed range is only representative of cargo and tow, and he's right, but is an influencer likely going to spend more than 4 hours on the interstate? Probably not. But with the rest of the creature comforts, the Lyriq isn't about to turn away any red carpet appearances. With statement lighting, exclusive 19-speaker audio system with its proprietary noise cancellation, and Super Cruise, you'll be able to inhabit the space you want and have it evolve as you desire different driving and riding experiences. All this comes before the real meat of discussion when talking about electric vehicles. Its power capability. Using 12 Ultium battery modules for a layout which garners 100 kilowatt hours, the Lyriq is set up very differently than the platform-sharing GMC Hummer EV. The event was very clear, bringing in Andy Oury, the battery's lead technical engineer, to say that,
and just to be clear,
each Ultium-powered vehicle will have its own configuration and specs. This Ultium vehicle offers 340 horsepower and 325 pound-feet of torque. First, let's compare it to the XT5, a similarly classed vehicle within the brand. Offering only 237 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque from the XT5, the Lyriq is already stacking up to be the more powerful Cadillac solution at only a moderately more expensive price tag. The Hummer EV and Ford Lightning are in a league all their own, providing numbers starting at 500 horsepower and 750 pound-feet of torque between the two. But that's not the competition. Why Cadillac is so prominently selling this to influencers as their next iconic SUV is because that's really the segment they're competing with. The Model X and now the Mustang Mach-E have become status symbols for the select few who can flaunt that expense. The Mach-E has a more affordable power range of between 266 and 346 horsepower and torque of 317 to 428 pound-feet. The Model X's numbers are wildly hard to truly determine from the manufacturer. Amended with asterisk marks and fine print, the Model X can reportedly provide 1,000 horsepower for an upper trim level. But these class symbols will realistically be anywhere between 259 and 534 horsepower and 243 to 557 pound-feet of torque. With that in mind, the Cadillac Lyriq is sitting comfortably in the crowd of competition. But whereas the status symbol used to only be the Model X, you can now get an electric SUV from a brand known as a luxury symbol the world over, with arguably better quality control. And hey, it's cheaper than the Model X too. The game is small currently, but will only get bigger with the newer Cadillac and Buick entries out of GM. Let's see what Lincoln has to offer. This type of video makes more sense when thinking about the supplemental questions of redundancy. Chevrolet's Equinox, Blazer, Trax, and Trailblazer share much in their four-sided Venn diagram. Why would an on-screen character ever drive the Trailblazer when any of the other three perform the job and look better doing it? Gosh, I hate the Trailblazer. Is the Cadillac Lyriq screen-worthy? If this is only meant as an influencer's SUV, do we only get to see these in movies like Mainstream, He's All That, or Spree? Actually, a Spree spinoff with a Lyriq would be kinda cool. Anyway, I just would hate to see this vehicle relegated to the icon symbol that David Dobrik, Josh Ovalle, or Casey Neistat sometimes showcase on their vlogs, as has been the case with their Model X's. But really, if we focus more on the influence that leaders like Kimberly Bryant or Nancy Liu have on the STEM industry, then I guess we can take the challenge given at the end of Cadillac's broadcast. We can be positive influences for our brothers, sisters, classmates, co-workers. There are so many people within our sphere of influence. Be bold, be brave, be who you want to be. As the Lyriq challenges, be iconic. I really appreciate you guys watching this far. I like doing picture cards videos, but I don't think it connects with my audience unless I also make these videos. My brother-in-law, Trace Brady, has written and is writing a series of character workbooks. In one of them, titled Create Yourself, you build your character in the story of life. Every person wants to feel like their story means something. It's why I started making picture cards videos and asking the question, does this car make sense for its character? But in doing so, I myself started realizing it doesn't make a ton of sense for me to drive a Chevrolet Equinox. And if a movie was ever going to be made about me, I'd want to be driving something else. So what would it be? So leave a comment of your daily driver and how it fits who you are as the main character in your own story. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. I encourage you to check out my picture car series if you, like me, are searching for your screen-worthy vehicle. Finally, make sure to subscribe because why?
Hey, it's because you're cool. Yeah, you've got more picture cars videos, you've got the Bronco getting restored, and you've got the Ford Probe getting some cool things. I think you're pretty cool.
Oh yeah, thanks again, and I'll see you all in the next one.